Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is gonna hurt.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Room Went Dark, the true crime and film, where we discuss film, TV and documentaries all based on real events. I'm your host Lorraine and I'm here joined by Amalie. Hello Amalie.
Hello, Lorraine.
Why can't I just say hello properly like a normal person?
I don't either. It's because it's weird.
It is weird, isn't it? Because I've already said hello to you before we talked. Now I'm
Yeah.
saying it again for the purpose of this.
Hello.
Yeah, a film that you
Hello
just
there.
finished an hour ago.
Yeah.
Commitment I like to see.
Yes.
Um, but this week, if you heard on our last episode, Woman of the Hour, we said we were going to go in a bit of a slightly different direction this week. And
Mhm.
while this film has a true crime theme to it, we're not going to discuss a specific, which word I have to say slowly because I can't say it fast, serial killer. And we're going to discuss the 1990 film Copycat. And this film was directed by Jon Amiel, and it's a psychological thriller horror film that stars Sigourney Weaver as Dr. Helen Hudson. And she's a criminal psychologist who's attacked by a serial killer, Daryl Lee Callum, who is played by Harry Connick Jr.
Mm.
And after this incident, she becomes an agoraphobe. And two detectives, Monahan, played by Holly Hunter, and Goetz, I don't know how you pronounce that, played by Dermot Mulroney, are investigating murders in San Francisco. And they get the help of Hudson because they soon realize that this serial killer is copycatting. Is copycatting a word?
Yeah,
Is it copycatting?
I think so.
Copycatting other serial killers as his method. So he would take inspiration, which I think is a really weird word to use with this. I was so
Sure.
inspired from Albert DeSalvo, aka the Boston Strangler, Kenneth Bianca and Angelo Bono, aka the Hillside Stranglers, and a few more. I think Ted Bundy and Dahmer. So it's, we're not going to go into all these serial killers, but it's kind of one of the, I think it's kind of goes back to the thing where, you know, people blame other things for, you know, it's not like movies where you're like, oh, you watch Scream now, you're like stabbing things. But like, you know, when people are looking at like, was it these serial killers that made him want to go do it? Did he like, was he infatuated with them? Was he obsessed with them? Or was he just a serial killer and he thought, I'm going to mix things up and throw people off track by doing, because serial killers tend to have their own way of doing things. You know, they very rarely go off track, whereas this guy does because he's changing his MO every time. So, you know,
Yeah.
you kind of was that started it. He wanted to be like all these guys.
Well, they kind of say at the end, don't they? It's Holly Hunt, who um is Detective Monahan,
Yeah.
MJ. She sort of says, what he wants is for Dr. Hudson to write a book about him so he can be famous.
Yeah.
But to be famous, he's got to be cool, right?
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
wants it. He wants to go out with a bang. So he sort of starts changing up and I think they work it out right at the end, don't they? Where there's a sequence. He's
Yeah.
following a sequence from a previous book,
Yeah.
which he's
Yeah.
written, I
How she's
think.
written. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so this basically it's just a lot of, you know, Sigourney Weaver in her home because she doesn't want to leave it. And she's got this massive drink problem, which, to be fair, what she went through, you know, she was nearly killed because she was hung, you know, and the cop that was there got shot. And
Mhm.
so, you know, I'm not going to judge her for what she's doing because, you know, I might do the same if that ever happened, you know. But she it's kind of become a bit redundant in the world apart from, like, you know, she's got a bit of online activity which is in itself interesting, watching the graphics and how people communicate back in the 90s with the technology. It was just,
Classic.
it was so classic, like, and I remember looking at stuff because obviously I was 1995, I was 21, And I remember us thinking, "Oh my God, that was so cool! Look what they did!" Like when like a shape would come up and then it would turn into another shape and pixelate the face to come out, all this kind of stuff. And I'd be like, "Wow, how did they do that?"
Oh, we thought it was so cool back then as well. I mean, I wasn't 21, but I
All
was
right,
around.
you would
I
have
was
been
around.
8
Maybe a bit older than that.
in 1995. You weren't.
No, yeah, probably about that. I was definitely not in my teens yet. Yeah,
No, no.
but
So, yeah. So she's just seen as kind of a whack, isn't she, to everyone, like just a nut job.
well, she is and she isn't. Like she is
To the
a
police, she seems like they think she's a bit of a nut job.
initially, and
Yeah,
then they realize
yeah,
who she is because she phones the police
yeah,
department, doesn't she? And she's like,
yeah,
"He's going to do this next," and they have her on speaker, and they're laughing at her
yeah.
essentially, just thinking, "God, who's this nut job?" And then she slams on the phone, and the note comes to
Mm,
Detective Monahan, and she's like, "Oh, okay," because she is a an acclaimed, an esteemed
yeah,
doctor of like a
yeah,
criminal psychologist, right?
yeah. Like she's
And
big in what she does.
yeah, and is, very much her speciality is serial killers.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning of the film, she is delivering a lecture, I'm assuming at a big university in America somewhere, and she goes to the toilet and she's taken there by the police officers. And they check out the bathroom, and there's one other person. You can see like her heels
Hmm.
underneath the door. Um, and then obviously he steps out, and it ends up being that this is Daryl Lee Cullum, who's played by Harry Connick Jr. Um, and you just see the shoes being taken off,
Yeah.
and and this, men's foot, feet are, being put down on the floor, and you're like, oh God, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he basically he sort of, you know, hangs her by a noose, doesn't he? And then yeah, and then the police officer comes in, and he gets shot. And was it, shall I stick him or should I shoot him?
I
Stick him,
know.
shoot him, stick him.
I know. I
Um,
found because Harry Connick Jr., like if you Google a picture of Harry Connick Jr., he's a very handsome man. And
he's
he's
great.
always been a very handsome man. And he's been very I mean, I haven't really seen much of him lately. I don't know what he's been doing, but like, back in the kind of like he's in this film with Sandra Bullock and, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, he's gorgeous and he's
Yeah,
lovable and all this kind of stuff. And then is this film like apparently Sigourney Weaver wouldn't speak to him in this film. She just found him too much because of how good he was.
really.
Because it's just, and I always find that, I suppose it's what we were saying, like we've said over the past about how somebody can change their face. And somebody
Yeah,
can be that. And it's not like he completely changes. He dyes his hair. That's all. That's the only difference between him in his actual physical appearance than
yeah,
when we see him as not an actor. And his hair is a different color, but he's just able, the way he talks and the way he looks, it's like you're the most ugliest man in the world. And that's the thing. It's like how
yeah.
can somebody so beautiful just simply, and I know that you're not a serial, I know you're still Harry Connick Jr., really, but you're so good at this role that
Yeah.
I don't even want to look at you,
He
you
does
know?
do like, you know, creepy hillbilly really well, doesn't he, in the film? Like, I
Creepy
say hillbilly,
hillbilly.
but it does there is this kind of like move that like when
Yeah.
when they're in the toilet and he's just killed the cop, and there's he sort of just does this sort of slight move with his body
Yeah.
that you're just like, oh, blah, blah, just like
And he
creeps you
loves it as
out.
well. That's one thing I always find with
Yeah,
some killers is like they love what they do. They're so far gone that
yeah,
it's just like they're living their best life, and it's just like maybe that's what it is. You can see that he's just loving this. He's enjoying every minute of it, of what
yeah. It's
he's
a game to
doing,
him,
and
Yeah,
I think that makes him look even sicker and uglier and disgusting.
yeah. Well, it
Rather
makes
than the
it's
ones.
scarier as well,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's so
Because
scary because he just
There's no
Yeah, I really
boundaries.
struggled with him, but for all the right reasons, because he is an actor and he played the part very well. But he obviously does get arrested. He ends up in prison.
He does.
Best place for him. And then this whole thing comes out about somebody's been murdered. And I love the way that you get people with this knowledge, and obviously Hudson has all this knowledge, and then you can see people going, oh, all right, okay, maybe we need to listen to her. We know that she's smart. And it's kind of one of those things where I've obviously never been through what she's been through. So, like, I don't think I have a right to be like, oh, you nut job for acting like that, or come on, it was a year and a half ago. Because sometimes you get people that go through the worst thing in their life, and we're like, are you going to move on? Like, how I just don't get why you would be so mean to someone for going through something so unbelievably traumatic, and but you're just like, oh, this is such an inconvenience for me. Like,
I mean, I can relate to that.
I
But
know, I
I
know.
actually
And as I
saw
was saying
something.
this, I was like, shit. But she hasn't been through what Sigourney Weaver's been through, just in
Yeah,
case
yeah,
they're
just
thinking that that's what it
there
was.
was no issue with the serial killer, not
No, but
yet anyway.
not yet
But I
anyway.
did see
Maybe after
something
this.
about this. So I frequently watch those podcast reels on like Facebook where
Yeah,
they do the Am I an Asshole? Basically it had like their mum had passed away and it'd
yeah.
only been like 8 months and it was her birthday. And her friends compiled together to get her a hoodie and a mug that said something like motherless chaos or something like that. And they thought it would be really funny. And of course, she got really upset about it. And and they were like, oh, yeah, it's been 8 months, like it was meant to just be like a funny thing. Like you should be over it by now. You're like, she hasn't even got through the 1 year anniversary. Like there are people that have like
Some people never
lost
get over
parents
stuff.
that, yeah, you
Yeah,
don't get over it. The people
no.
that are like 20
And
years
there's
later are
no.
still missing their parents, like, and it's with the film, I think this is the thing that, again, like Sigourney Weaver does so well is that you can tell that she is this very esteemed
Yeah,
academic. And
yeah,
at the same time, she clearly has this enormous amount of PTSD. She's
yeah.
agoraphobic. She can't leave a house. And she's struggling with it. She's self-medicating with alcohol,
Yeah,
100%, and pills as well
yeah,
that she's got to take. Um, she's obviously having like, probably all the intrusive thoughts and the
yeah.
nightmares and all the rest of it. I mean, they do actually portray the PTSD really well. Um, and yeah, and you can see the struggle. Like she wants to be able to leave a house. Like she's so frustrated and pissed off, I think at herself
Yeah.
because, her mind and her body are not doing what they did before. But, she's a changed person. Like she's got to kind of deal with the current state of affairs and what's happening. But her mind is still very sharp. She's still got that information. She's still got that knowledge to be able to help the police catch
This guy.
this guy. Yeah,
And I think that because that's the thing, like there wasn't for her, there wasn't a death, but there was a death of who she once was. And I think that's
absolutely.
the thing, isn't it? Yeah, you're kind of torn between this. I know I've been outside before. I know I'm this capable person who, is smart and can do all this stuff, but I just can't, and I just
Yeah,
that's the thing. I just don't think that you should ever when it comes to grief or whatever, whether it's a death or something bad has happened, you can't tell someone basically fucking move on, you know? Like my mom, her dad died in
yeah, you got
1972 and she still talks about him,
100%. But you're
And
meant
I'm not going to
to.
be like, oh, for God's sake, it was, because it was, someone important to her. And yeah, so I think that's one thing that I get very frustrated when I watch this. So when we get introduced to like the cops at the start, they just feel like, yes, you are the assholes. Because that am I the asshole thing, you're literally going, yeah, your partner is an asshole. You haven't done anything wrong. Because I feel like a lot of the time they're not the asshole. Um,
Yeah,
and
about 10.
but with these guys at the start, and even when they kind of go in, I feel like they're humoring her. I didn't feel,
Really?
yeah, I didn't feel straight
Okay.
off the bat. I think they were like, well, she knows her shit,
Mm,
you know, but then when because she turns around and she says something about, oh, was there a, so with Albert DeSalvo, because he would go into people's homes and stuff like that. Um, I think he left, there was a something removed, like a scarf or something around the neck. And they're like, well, how do you know
Yeah.
that? And then she's like, well, and then all of a sudden she gets out the Albert Salvo picture and this, and she's like, and then they're like, oh, okay, this woman knows, because you wouldn't know. If you don't know, you don't know. It's not one of these things you just, you think about. You either know it or you don't. It's kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
And then what I like how then when it moves, because as we've mentioned before over the time that they have their way of doing things. If your way of killing is shooting, you're going to shoot. That's usually going to be your way. You're very rarely going to go a different way. It does happen. So when the next murder is, who was the second one? Oh yeah, the Hillside Stranglers.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, well,
Bianchi.
obviously this is, yeah. I mean, that their story, we
Oh,
probably
I
will
looked
cover.
into them. My goodness. Like, well, we need to come back to them because
Yeah, that's
I
not.
thought Akala was bad, but these guys, my goodness,
These guys were I've
they
I've
bad people.
struggled with a few over the years, like I've said to you, BTK and Shawcross, but
Yeah.
these two, there's two serial
Oh,
killers
man.
actually, that Leonard Nee and I can't remember the other guy's name. I don't even know if I could cover them.
Really? Okay.
Oh, they're
Yeah. Yeah.
just, oh my God, I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head. But anyway, yeah, you've got two, which to me makes it all the more terrifying because when there's one person, whether it's anyone, if someone's going for you and it's just one person, you think, right, there's a chance. There's a chance I could get away. I could beat them. I could do something. But when there's two full grown men,
Well, yeah.
that's a very different situation, especially if you're quite small. Well, I'm only 5'2", this type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
See.
but she sees it. And then when she says, oh, was there a no dumping sign next to it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then she's like, it's changed because they think obviously it's not this guy because it's a different MO. And then I like how she's kind of putting all this together because solely she has information they don't.
She knows.
Yeah.
She's lived and breathed
Yeah.
these, all of these serial killers. That's her job. Over 20, 2 decades worth of knowledge, right? And yeah, as soon as
You're
they
right.
start talking about the setup,
Yeah.
she knows.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, is it this?
Yeah. Because you do. I mean, when you said, she's been living and breathing, I'm like, oh my God, that's me 30 plus years. And it's not even my job.
Yeah,
Um,
the police are gonna be coming to you in like 20 years' time,
I
being
know.
like, so
Yeah.
Lorraine,
Yeah.
tell us about.
Yeah, I'd like that job
But
actually. That'd be
even the
brilliant.
Hillside Stranglers, so it was interesting when I read into it. So, I say Bianchi, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
Oh yeah, Bianchi. Yeah.
But he wasn't a copycat. He did get inspiration
Yeah.
from other I think it was like a rapist, wasn't it? A particular guy that he basically like drew inspiration from, but was like, but he should have killed them. He should have killed his victims. And you sort of like the kind of like, I don't know, not the in what I was gonna say Inception, that's not what it is it? But the sort of for that serial killer to have been chosen within this
Yeah.
movie in particular, I thought was quite an interesting
And I
one.
think they used to impersonate being cops as well.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, they they're
Mm.
they're ones that I haven't fully looked into because I just find, I mean, I know what they've done, but I just find them quite difficult because
Yeah.
they they bring them to another location sometimes and they do stuff there, and I don't know, you just keep,
But
it's like
this is
your worst, nightmare is being taken somewhere.
well, this is like you were saying before, that it's that isolation, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like at the beginning of the previous film we were
yeah,
watching, sort of realizing that you are out in the middle of nowhere with
yeah,
this essentially monster and
yeah,
going, I can't outrun this person. I'm not strong
yeah.
enough to defend this person off. Like, okay, I'm a goner. You kind of know in that moment, I'm gonna die today, you just it's a horrible I
And when
can't,
there's two of them, I always think to myself, because like, when you go back to ones when there's two of them, especially if they're just friends, like, because I know they were related. And
Yeah,
obviously
they were
Fred and Rose
cousins,
West were
weren't they?
related, and there's David and Catherine Byrne and all that kind of stuff, that people are related. But I always wonder, even if you're married or related, like the like what is it that makes you feel you can bring it up, you know? Because when it's just you, you're like, I want to do this, so I'm going to go and do this. But when you want someone to do something with you, you have to bring it up. We had a conversation about this podcast. If we didn't have a conversation about this, we would never have done it. But these guys, it's like, do you know what? I was thinking, we see these
Yeah.
women that are around. Why don't we do this? Like, and
There's
I,
one time. Yeah.
and I know there's stuff out there, but I'd love to just be on a fly on a wall in that situation. But also, what makes you think you can bring it up? Like, do you notice something in that person that you're like, actually, they're just like me? Have they done it before? I mean, there's lots of couples that do stuff, you know?
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. You can kind of get it with, I guess, like brothers and sisters, they both
Yeah,
grew up in the same
yeah,
house, although, equally siblings have very, very different experiences
yeah,
quite often.
yeah,
I guess if it's neglectful or abusive enough, there's enough there
yeah,
to you kind of get it, right? These two were like cousins,
yeah.
so they wouldn't necessarily brought up in the same house,
No.
and they're both as bad as each other. You at least think
Oh,
like there's going to be one that you know
no. Yeah,
that's
because
gonna be the kind of the leader of
yeah,
the pack, but they're both awful
no,
human
because
beings,
Bjorno
basically.
went off and did it on his own, and I think Bianchi was
Yeah,
raping people and stuff like that, and it's just yeah, they are like I said, we need to. I will deep dive into them. I haven't yet because they are ones that I do avoid because I just
sure. Yeah, for good
the
reason.
little
I
I know was
wish
kind
I
of
hadn't.
enough for me. But anyway, so yeah, so they do this. And then that's when they kind of start piecing together, well, this guy is obviously trying to, you know, um, copy these guys rather
Yeah.
than, like you said, like the book and stuff.
Because it's only
Um,
after like the third murder, isn't it, that they finally it's like
yeah,
they
because it's the son of
it's
Sam.
Berkowitz,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
then the right, okay, hang on a minute.
yeah, it's not a
That's
coincidence
when
anymore. It's like, it's this type
yeah,
of thing. But and I think one thing this film does well is like it kind of sometimes, some serial killers just don't want to talk. They never talk. They get put into jail. They never talk, never say anything. Others want to sing it from the rooftops. They want to be famous,
mm,
and this is what a lot of this is, they want to be known for what they do. They don't want anyone else getting the credit. This is what
hmm,
I did. Look what I achieved, you know? Um, and, they become very obsessed with being these killers by copying these other ones. Like, and I suppose as well, when they're doing it in that way, they're kind of getting away with maybe what the other one didn't, because all these other serial killers have been caught. That's how we know about them, you know?
sure, yeah.
Oh, I did it. I ain't got caught. I did it. I ain't got caught. I did it. I've done all these things. I didn't get caught. I mean, he did in the end, obviously, because he got cocky. But
I'd love to know that actually. I would like to know, is there more of a percentage of copycat killers who are doing it for the spotlight? Do you see what I mean? Rather
yeah.
opposed to the ones that go into prison, they don't say anything and they're very secretive, and that's how they keep their power around it. Like if someone out there is doing, serial killer psychology, which I know that's not a sentence, but
Well, I
like
think
email us, tell us what's the likelihood of the copycat killers being kind of like look at me killers rather than
Well, I don't
yeah.
think, like, I think the things I tend to hear nowadays, because obviously back, when a lot of these things go on in the 70s and 80s and stuff,
Hmm.
um, they wouldn't have had the internet, so they wouldn't have been open. They might not have heard about other things. Like, even if it's in the same
Yeah, good
country,
point.
obviously news doesn't travel the way it does. Um, but then you get, I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but like the Columbine.
Hmm.
Sometimes you've heard there was these kids. I can't remember who it was, but they were, inspired by those. Like, do you know what I mean? Those two boys.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't necessarily think, because if you're, killing sex workers, a lot of serial killers have done that because obviously they're people, they're not missed. They might not be saying it's missing because they're out, doing jobs that are dangerous and they might have left home. And, like we said back then, you didn't have mobile phones to just text, say, hey, I'm okay, like, and stuff like that. You might have to wait. My daughter rings me once a month and then you're waiting, this type of thing.
Or
So,
is that kind of the understanding that prejudice works quite
yeah,
well for
yeah.
serial killers, whether you're a sex worker or you're not, I don't know, a middle class white female, for example, you know, the likelihood
Oh,
of
yeah. Yeah. It's
but
more
it's
hidden
true,
now
isn't it,
though, sex work. Like you don't, back in when you see films, like from the 70s and 80s, I mean, I don't know as this stereotypical because I've never been in that kind of life, but there's loads of them on street corners just standing there waiting around and you get into their car and then you go off. That's what's
Mm,
happening. They got into their car. Whereas here, I think today it's more, it's not that it's a good thing, but it's probably a bit more official for use of a better term. Like someone might come to you and
yeah,
there's other people there. Do you know
yeah,
that
yeah.
way? Like more like a brothel kind of setup rather than a girl who doesn't, she's left home, she's 15 and she gets in the car of somebody she doesn't know. So I don't, I think the reason it's harder to say, unless they blatantly come out and go, I want to be the next Dahmer, I think it's hard to call it copycat because so many people did a lot of these things,
Mm,
whereas this guy is purposely going, I'm going to take all the people from your book and I'm going to do that. So
yeah,
he's not copycatting a serial killer almost. He's just kind of going, I'm going to take what you've written about and do that. Had she written about Arthur Shawcross, H. Holmes, and Ed Gein, he would have done that. So it wasn't about, Berkowitz and DeSalvo. It wasn't about them. I feel like it was about that's because who she talked about, you know?
yeah.
Whereas
Well, and
others
it
do
was
it
all
in,
about her though, wasn't it? Because
yeah,
can we
exactly.
ruin the end? Can we like spoiler alert the end of
Oh,
it?
yeah, yeah, you can say what you want.
So
1995, guys.
at the end we find out that Peter Foley, who is the
Yeah,
killer, he basically is the disciple of Daryl, who was
yeah,
the person that
yeah,
hangs her up at the beginning. And it ends with him writing to a different
yeah.
person
To
to
do it again,
say,
basically.
Peter's fallen.
Yeah.
He's, you on the other hand will, become victorious or whatever. That's not quite the words, but you know what I mean. So it all centers, it does all center around her and her
Oh,
work.
100%. The kills are irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're not part of the story. It's about how am I going to get her,
But it's the
and
copycat of her
yeah,
work,
yeah, exactly. So
and what
so
she's
it's not
written.
about he doesn't want to be, because you hear, it's not like someone going, I wanted to be bigger than, Ted Bundy. No, he doesn't give a shit who he's
Yeah.
doing. He's just doing what she's written. So, it's not like he's taken his lead from other people, you know, because he's taken his lead from her but
Yeah.
without her actually doing it. She's just
Well,
talking
that's
about other people. She didn't
part
do
of the
any of these
game, though,
crimes.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
her working out that he's essentially
yeah.
copycatting something that she's written, you know?
Yeah, and something that I thought was interesting at the beginning is someone like because Bundy, for instance, he was executed in '89, and he they did speak to him quite a lot because I think he helped with the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway,
Right.
and they were like, we should have kept him alive to kind of examine his brain, like the way they speak to Ed Kemper and Mindhunter and stuff like that. And, a lot
Hmm.
of this stuff did happen. And he, before, like, Bundy didn't want to be killed. He was like, I can do this, I can say this, I can tell you this. He was trying to be someone, you know,
Hmm.
um, that was of use and had information and knowledge that they didn't. And I kind of agree with that with some of them. I think but then I suppose you have to kind of say, is he just spouting shit because he wants us to keep him alive longer? Or is he telling us the truth of what's happened? Because I don't think you could do that
Both.
with every killer. Like when you see some of those serial killers and read about them, I don't think any of them are there to help you out. They're not going to tell you anything. Where some of them sing like a canary, like, do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and so I think, yeah, with regards to the copying, it's he's not a copycat serial killer in the sense that we would think a copycat serial killer would be. Because you would think they'd take a person and that's it.
Mm,
It doesn't
yeah.
feel like, to me, it kind of feels like the serial killers are irrelevant of who he's
Yeah.
doing. You know, I think it's just all about her. And I do like the way that this film is very led by females. It's very a female driven narrative and stuff like that. And Holly Hunter, for me, because like you've got Sigourney Weaver who's like losing her mind all the time, which, let's be fair, she's been through some shit. But Holly Hunter's kind of the other side.
Yeah.
She's very like calm. She's in this male dominated area, but she's very together with it. She's got her young Dermot Mulroney, Rubin with him, who he seems like a good guy
Also a very handsome chap, I must
and
say.
and still is a very handsome chap, I must
Yes,
add.
he
He's gorgeous.
is.
Um, but yeah,
Sorry,
so I
sorry.
think she's kind of, for me, Holly
I get
Hunter
it.
Monahan is the calm in this film,
Yeah, yeah.
you
But
know?
she, is the interesting bit when they first go to meet Dr. Hudson,
Mm,
and Hudson says to Ruben, is she always like this? Does she do the kind of wide-eyed little girl routine? And he's like, yeah. And
yeah,
and
but
she's like, does it always work? And Holly just like, usually. Yeah. And it's sort of like, there is sort of almost like an innocence about her in it. She's very softly spoken. Even in that first scene when they're in the apartment and the guys remove the officers has removed like the stocking from the neck of the
yeah,
the you know the victim, and the way that she speaks to everyone, okay, bye, she's this very kind of like pleasant, gentle character, but
she's
my
not overly
God, she
emotional and like, how they like to call us hysterical, because the hysterical people in it, are her colleagues,
yeah, oh yeah.
puffing their chests because he's jealous that Hot Ruben is
Oh,
chatting to
like
ah, Will
Nicoletti, I have to
Patton's
say that in a very
character is
American accent, Nicoletti.
yeah, go on.
Who's played by William Patton. Mark, he's so creepy. I've actually
Yeah,
written creepy mother
yeah.
effer
He's a great
on my
actor. He's a great
on my
actor, but
notes.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm
He
like, and he's just the ex-boyfriend, and he obviously is still
I
very
know,
much like
hung up on
fancies
her.
her. And she's not
Yeah,
interested because she quite likes Ruben. But he's just so like persistent and like again another male
he's not
dominating
accepting it.
power who just won't accept that no.
No.
Just like go away, leave her alone. No, she doesn't want to go for a drink with you. No, she
Yeah,
doesn't, back off. Like
yeah.
get over it. She's not
Yeah,
interested
no,
anymore.
no, 100%. And I do like though, because obviously for Helen, she hasn't been with anyone for a while, and then obviously Ruben comes in and she's trying to flirt with him and basically saying, "Look, I would if you would," and
Yeah.
he's like, "No," and stuff like that.
And
And
he's
then
very gentle about it because
yeah, he
he
lets her
sort
down
of just
gently.
says,
He's a good guy. He's one of the
the
good
thing
guys. I
is
liked him.
you're on the witness side,
Yeah,
and she's like, because to her that's a bit of a hit to the ego, right? Because
yeah.
she's this strong, independent, very clever
Mm,
academic, but in her current state, she's not. She is,
no.
well, she is a witness, and she's also, yeah, like a victim technically.
And he would be taking advantage. That would be seen as him taking advantage.
100%, absolutely
Yeah.
100%.
So
Yeah.
yeah, he amazing. He was really good in this, and he was very young and kind of he wasn't jaded by it all yet, and
Yeah.
he knew the difference between right and wrong, which not all of them did. And it was sad when he got shot. I'd
Oh,
forgotten about that
yeah,
until
me
we
too.
seen that guy unlock, when he got the thing. I'd forgotten about that. And I was like, no. And
Yeah.
even in that moment when he's killed and Monahan's looking at him, she still is very, but then when she goes to tell Hudson that it's happened, even then she's trying to be, and then she goes, because I knew you guys had a thing.
Yeah.
She's like, no, we didn't. But she's
No,
trying
we
to really
didn't.
keep it.
That's the only
Yeah,
time you see her, I say in quotation marks, break, because she doesn't. She's
no,
upset and
yeah.
she's
She's still
crying,
composed. She's
but
still
she's still
composed.
composed and she's just gone
Yeah.
over. And even then, she's thinking about, I need to let
Mm,
Hudson know this because and I don't want her to find out on the news. Like
yeah,
it's a thoughtful, but I think at the same time she kind of maybe wanted like another female to
yeah,
speak to about it as well, because their link together actually was him. They
yeah.
both liked him. He obviously because he's gorgeous. But and like you said, there's this kind of Monahan thinks that perhaps maybe there was something going on
Yeah.
with Hudson and
Mm,
him. When actually he likes her,
yeah.
he even says to Hudson, not yet, and she's like, oh, yet.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a romance potentially brewing between
But
them
he's
both,
not pushing it. He's
but he's
not
not
forcing
pushing
it.
it.
He's kind of
Yeah,
accepting that, um, but yeah, no, I do feel like they have, but I think women do tend to need their female, like our relationships I find are very important and they're like we would be almost lost without our female
yeah.
friends. I went away on a trip once with actually your husband and another lad. We all went around the country and I was just with him and a friend, another friend, male, and then we went and met this other male friend, and there was a males there. And honestly, by the end of the week, and to be fair, your lovely husband, who's a dear friend of mine, he was like, "Okay, Lorraine, yeah, I get it. It's been a bit much for you because the last day they were just not him, to be fair, but the others were real assholes." And I remember we were seeing Harry the next day, and I needed to see her. I needed to be around a thing. And he was the only one that was actually not a dick about it and was like, I get it. It's been full on us blokes and we're kind of being a bit blokey towards the end,
That sounds like
just
my
by there.
husband.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still friends though, so obviously it wasn't too bad. But I remember like saying I need to see her. And I
Yeah,
go months without seeing her now. And I mean I'd love to see more of her.
need
But
some feminine
yeah, but
energy.
that week I was like, I can't look at another man ever again
Yeah.
because they were just being blokes, like not in any sort of sexual manner, not that kind of thing. But I sometimes you're like, how am I married to you? You're like a 15-year-old, that type of way. So yeah, I get the kind of that was my first and only experience really of being like, I need my female
Mm.
friends
Well, the
around.
thing is, us women, we hold the bucket for each other, don't we? I think is
Yeah.
the phrase these days, holding the bucket, because I think it still is in it. We are still in a society. Yes, okay. I can't say anything about
Mm.
my husband. He is amazing. Like he's
He is.
fantastic. You know this. You are friends with him. Um, but equally, I think for a lot of women, not myself, I will say, they are left being the ones holding the majority of everyday life.
Mm.
And there is a depth to that
Yeah.
that can only really be empathized with by another
Yeah.
woman also doing the same, I think sometimes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yours is very domesticated.
yeah, I'm so lucky. So lucky with that. I mean, I'm not lucky. I actively was like, yes, I could see myself being married to this man.
I would have lived with him, not as a couple, because no way. But I
You've
would have
said this
lived,
in your different wings
yeah, different wings of the house
of
that he
the house.
tidies. But I'd be friends 20 years. I'll be friends with him next year. That's
Yeah,
nuts.
crazy.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I would have happily lived with him because we'd have had such a tidy house. Um, and but yeah, but one thing I noticed in here, so all the way through it, you kind of have in that moment where we're saying about how she goes to her and stuff. And I know it's just to tell her, but I feel like it's also you're going to get a bit more comfort from her.
Yeah.
And in that moment, we kind of have Hudson. She kind of forgets all the what's going on in those moments, and she is about Monahan, comforting her. There is that little moment where she's
Yeah.
now the one in control and not upset or angry or
Well, it's like that kind of moment, when you're like going through your own stuff, but
yeah,
then a friend then starts
needs you.
going through
Yeah,
something bigger, don't
yeah,
you? And you're like, I need to
yeah. This isn't
get my
about me
shit
anymore.
together. Yeah, this
Yeah,
isn't just about me.
yeah,
It sort of snaps you out of your own stuff, doesn't it? And you're like,
yeah.
okay, I need to gather myself now because someone else needs my support.
Because it can't always be about you. You know that
Well,
way.
but and
It can.
you think Hudson's been like shut up in her own home for
Yeah,
ages. Like her mental health is just like
Yeah.
declining day by day because yes, okay, she's got her lovely assistant, but he then gets, you know,
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer, exactly. Um, and so she's left to her own devices in her own house. She's
Mm.
got no other human company.
Yeah.
She's got no one to worry about. There's no children. There's no, do you know what I mean? You know, you can kind of see how things
Yeah.
escalate in that sense, or slide, I guess, in that in sort of mental health because yeah, she's not getting enough social interaction at all.
But
And
then you
so then
see,
Monahan turns up and she's like, I need to just be a
yeah.
mess with somebody.
Yeah.
You're a mess. Can I be a mess with you? It's a
Let's
bit
be a
like
mess
that.
together. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, and I suppose as well, Monaghan, and I know Ruben as well to an extent, but Monaghan probably since the incident when she was attacked, has kind of been somebody that actually needed her for
Mm,
what she does. So
yeah.
like, everyone's like, oh well, she's a quack now, we'll just leave her, to it. But now someone's like, no, I need this expertise and I need you to basically, sh- you know, shape up and sort this out. So, and
Yeah.
she's not allowed. I feel like with Monaghan, because when she loses her shit, the way when someone starts losing their shit, you kind of be like, oh, for God's sake, will you calm down or will you do this, that, and the other? Whereas Monaghan just lets her do it. And
Yeah.
but she doesn't, there's nothing there. She's very indifferent to it all. She's kind of just like, oh, are you done? Okay, right. She doesn't baby her and she doesn't get mad. She's
No.
nothing. She just waits for it to finish. And I think that's really good because she doesn't need someone shouting at her, oh, for God's sake, pull yourself together. So I think in that respect, Monaghan probably brought her back to life a bit with, you know, and I think the guy that looked after her was good at that. He was very
Mm,
like, oh, she's just having a moment now. That's a panic attack. Give her 5 minutes. She'll be fine. Like, she's just going to pass out for a bit, you know?
yeah. Yeah.
But also making sure she was okay when she passed out, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Yeah, and
So,
even when they come knocking, and Hudson's in the background shaking her head, like,
yeah,
no, no, send them away, send them. She's like
yeah,
waving them, and he's like, come on in, because he
yeah,
knows it's good for her,
yeah,
right? She
yeah,
needs to kind of, just have that little bit of a push, just a little
yeah,
bit, not too much, but just bit by
yeah,
bit, just sort of building her back up again, and yeah, whilst she's probably never going to return to the person that she was before the incident, at least she can still feel like she has a
yeah.
sense
Like
of
she
value,
has, yeah, because she
and
does
worth
have the
of,
knowledge,
yeah,
working from home. She could work from home.
working from home, exactly. I mean, that's basically exactly what I mean, they don't pay her for it, which she
No,
bloody should do, quite
no,
honestly, because
exactly.
she's definitely doing the work. But yeah.
But I do think like because kind of going towards the end where the copycat killer does what Daryl does. Do you know what
Mm,
I mean? And all the hanging stuff. That whole scene is terrifying. And I'd forgotten about him being the cop.
yeah, me
And I remember
too.
thinking, where is he? I was there
I thought
literally,
it was in
where
the
is he? Where's he?
cupboard.
And I was like, oh
Yeah.
God, shit, yeah, he's a cop. And I thought that was done very well. But I liked that it had to be so detailed because it kind of was like a bit full circle for me because obviously she was pointing out all these small details. Did you see the no dumping sign? Where was the scarf? And then
Yeah.
she kicks the shoe off.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no, it can't. It's got to be, because he has to have
Yeah.
the scene, that's his obsession. It has to be perfect. It
It's
has
got
to
to
be
be a
exactly the
complete
same.
copy.
So she kind of like her expertise, so to speak, because she didn't kick it off on, by accident. She did that on purpose because
Yeah.
she knew. And I think that was kind of like for me, I was like, the details. It was all about the details for him,
Yeah, it's
you
in the
know?
moment, isn't it? When
Yeah.
he's saying, "Are you watching, Helen?
Yeah.
are you watching?" And that's when she's like, "Oh, of course." Closes her eyes,
Yeah.
drops the shoe
Yeah.
off, and he's
Yeah.
like, "No, what are you doing?" Because he's,
Yeah.
this isn't how it's supposed to go.
No, exactly. And
And in that
I
moment,
thought
yeah,
little things like that. I think that's the thing. Little things like that, because obviously this isn't a real murder. It's not based on anyone.
sure,
But little things like that are what kind of makes films like that for me. Is that they go the detail of what they did.
yeah,
To kind of go, let's make this scene as uncomfortable as possible for this serial killer, because now he's losing control, because he's the one that's in control all the time, because he's so cocky. Like when he walks around, he's like, he's got swagger in his step, and he's like, I'm the dude, man. But then in this moment, it's like, well, you're only the dude when it's on your terms. Soon as it's not, look,
Yeah.
you can't handle it. And you're
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
no, because what, a shoe's fallen on the floor?
Yeah. This
That's
is
all
a
it took. That's all it
yeah,
took
yeah.
to push you over the edge.
I'd like the shoe thing. Like I couldn't
Yeah,
tell
that's
whether it was
brilliant.
purely just um like standard 90s, right? The pointed shoe with the bit of a heel, but also because there are serial killers that have a bit of
Mm.
a foot shoe fetish as well,
Yes,
aren't there?
there's one in
And
particular whose name I
yeah, and
can't.
I wonder if it was like just a little bit of a maybe call it a nod to him because that sounds really weird, but just sort of like a kind of
Oh,
adding in there, the slipping off of the shoe and there's just something about it that I just thought, oh, that's
begins with
a good
J.
one to add in.
Jerry Brudos. There it is.
That's the
I knew it
one,
began with
yeah.
J. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Well, maybe that's what, because he had a weird thing about shoes. Someone we can cover. But yeah, I thought all those little things were good. And I think as well with this movie, because like obviously now, I mean, look, we're doing this. True crime is such a big thing now. Like it's one of the biggest things with podcasts, the most popular ones, one of them. I don't know if it is the one, but it's definitely up there. So it almost kind of feels like with this film, it was like ahead of its time,
Mm,
you know, because
yeah,
this film made
absolutely.
today would be interesting to see what they would do
Still
with it.
is. It's still
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
good
You
film
don't
now,
need to make
watching
it
it,
today. You don't need to make it today. And
Yeah,
I think that's the thing with remakes and stuff. Some of them I'm like, just go
yeah.
back and watch the original. Like, they very rarely
And
do
the
remakes better.
cinematography with it, the way that they sort of, the camera creeps
Mm,
around as if it's through the lens of the
yeah.
killer, the
Yeah.
way that they do it, it's great. I think it
Yeah.
works really well.
They draw you in, completely
Yeah.
draw you in. But yeah, no, yeah, no, I really enjoy this film, and I haven't watched it in a few years, but I've watched it quite a few times. But I absolutely, you know, I loved it. I
Yeah.
think it was really well done, and I've obviously, um, I'm a big Sigourney Weaver fan, who I met
Of
at Comic
course
Con,
you
and I've got a photo.
did. I was
Yes,
thinking that when I was watching it, I'm pretty sure I felt like I'd seen a photo of you and the lovely Sigourney together.
yeah, because I'm a massive Ripley fan, so
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
like
yeah.
my fave. So yeah, I'm obsessed with Ripley. But yeah, have you got anything else to add, or were we?
No, I think we can end there because quite honestly, I think it
Yeah,
was yeah, it's a great film with great actors
good
and
story. Yeah,
it's good
yeah,
storyline.
yeah. And
Like
it's on if you're in the UK now. I don't know about any other Netflix. It's on
sure.
Netflix. Other streaming services are available. I always
Yeah.
hear that in podcasts when they name something. They're like, "Other such and such is available." I'm like, okay.
We're not going to name them because you're not paying us. So you're
No,
not sponsoring
exactly.
us yet.
Yeah, exactly. Sponsor us and then we'll say it. I
Yeah.
have a big Netflix sign in the background of my monitor if you want.
Oh, well, we're
Not
happy
that
to
we're
be
on video
sponsor
yet.
sluts. It's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
But yeah, if you want to follow us, we're on Instagram and TikTok as The Room Went Dark, which we're still getting used to. And you can email us at theroomwentdark@gmail.com for suggestions and comments.
Yes.
And go
Yeah,
rate and
definitely give us
review
your
on,
suggestions if you've got any films
yeah,
that you think are good that, perhaps we maybe
we
haven't
might
thought
not
of
think of,
yet.
yeah. Because I keep
Mm.
seeing stuff and I'm like, oh, that, oh, that, oh, that. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's so much, isn't there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
unfortunately, all these fuckers out there making movies about real bastards. Sorry, bit of a swear there.
Say it how you
I don't
feel.
mean the people that make the movies are the fuckers. I mean that the people that they're made about.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right then. Well, we shall go. I think we're doing Scream next.
Yeah.
AKA Danny Rowland's, very loosely based on
Very
Scream.
loosely. Yeah.
Very loosely. Yeah, and we will chat to you then. Bye.
Bye.